You got a good one there.
Yeah. All right, another AWS reInvent community session. I'm with Calvin, who is the CTO of 6 Feet Up, an application development firm outside of Indianapolis.
Yep.
Calvin, welcome. I don't think I've ever had you on video.
No, we did do a video like about 2 years ago.
At reInvent, probably.
Well, reInvent, or every time I get on a Zoom call with you, you're like, hold on, I'm going to hit record.
There you go.
We're just going to start talking.
So this is kind of planned, not planned. But at Tech Field Day, specifically AI Field Day, you did a session on AI assisted coding, and it just was not enough time.
I know.
I was asking all of these questions, and I said we have to continue this. So this is the continuation of that conversation to an extent. First off, we're here at reInvent, so we have to give some acknowledgement that Cairo exists.
Yeah.
Can you break down to us what Cairo is compared to some of the other AI-assisted code assistants, and why someone would use Cairo versus Cursor versus some of the other ones you introduced? And I'll link the Tech Field Day talk underneath so we don't repeat some of that stuff.
Yeah, so I think the AWS agentic coding solution, the Cairo tool, is meant more towards spec-driven development. So help you develop specs, help you develop the plan that's going to go execute, and then break that plan up into small chunks. I think that's a smart play. It comes down to like managing your context of what you're feeding these LLMs to try and get back reasonable code to commit into your application. There's a couple tools in the same category like this. Devin is another similar one that basically is spec-driven development, as opposed to like Cursor or Claude Code or Windsurf and some of the other ones. They are more generally type in what you want to do, build some code. These ones try and direct you down that, build some specifications first.
So what I typically use Cairo for is especially that spec build, but I don't use it actually to build code. I then take that spec and give that spec to one of the other.
I think that's smart. Because I think each of these have their own kind of idiosyncrasies or specialties that they seem to be good at the moment, and that's always a moving, changing sea of the agentic AI world. But it's very quick. I find a good usage pattern is not to try and dedicate yourself to just one of these agents, but like take one agent and get started with it. Maybe it's performing the way you want for that kind of a task, and as soon as it starts to feel like you're not getting the traction or the advantages out of it, switch over to another one. Switch over into Goose, switch over into Codex, Cursor, or I like Claude Code a lot. Those are all really good ones because they've got different system prompts on the covers. They're working with different base models under the covers. I like Goose personally. I've talked about this quite a bit on the previous podcast or the previous session I did, because you can bring your own models too.
Right.
You can use Olama models. You can bring Mistral or Codex or any open models like the OSS GPT models, and drive those in different ways and try and take the same context. So manage your project in specs, manage the state of the project on the file system with like markdown files, and allow other agents to like read those files in as new context, like fresh context windows, and see how far they can get with your progress.
So let's map this out a little bit. So this is not any different than when we're undergoing any software project.
Oh no, that's the funny part. Yeah. This is not new. This is actually what we should have been doing all the way along, is writing good specs first.
And ironically, at reInvent on the show floor, they had and we can actually use that as the reference, they had a 4-step demonstration on the show floor. One was planning, which we're talking about now. The next was design, then code, then deployment. And what I felt to be kind of clever was that they used a video game, the arcade. Have you seen the thing where you can plan an arcade game, you can design it, you then code it, and then you deploy it? It was using each one of AWS's premier products in each phase, so Cairo, Nova, and Bedrock, etc., to do the development. And what I thought was clever and what I want to talk to you about is that you actually work with not necessarily junior developers, but a lot of senior developers.
Yeah, all senior developers are what we do. I mean, unless we're engaging in a client where we're talking to them and helping their junior teams build up their skills.
And what I thought was interesting is that every time I read one of these reports about AI-assisted coding, it talks about how good it is for junior developers, but not so useful for senior developers.
I'm the exact opposite on that take.
Right.
I think that the senior developers, it's interesting because senior developers have learned this and done this, many, many more times than any junior developer, just because of the sheer fact of the time in the chair, doing the work and experiencing all the various edge cases and all the journey that goes along with it. And that's what I feel like gives them the advantage with these kind of tools, is that you can ask things of an LLM, of the code step of that, based on your knowledge of the world. And if your worldview encompasses 30 years of coding experience, you've got more context to get exactly what you want out of that tool and do things that a junior developer doesn't even know is possible. Like they don't know certain things could even happen, where a senior developer is going to be like, oh, I may not have gone down that path because I didn't have time, but now I've got these agentic tools working in my corner. I can send them on their way on what could be an experiment on a thought that I had years ago, but never pulled the trigger on.
And this is why I liked the demonstration on the show floor, because for folks who are used to managing teams, building systems, this process is the development or the systems engineering process. And as we think about where we inject AI, whether we're talking about code development, operations, etc., we intuitively know where to deploy the AI-assisted systems at, but I don't think anybody sat down and actually codified this.
Well, everyone's got their take on it. I think when the tools first came out, they were all focused on this box alone.
Yes.
Like they didn't even have a plan mode or an architect mode. Or some of the early tools did, like Aider Chat had architect mode, and then all the other ones followed suit eventually, having like a plan mode of some kind.
And some of the pitfalls is that the coding assistants are designed to solve the coding problem, no matter what it took. So what I saw was missing in the design phase of it is just basic hygiene, such as, and you talked about this a lot, around rules, but the coding assistant recreating libraries that already exist.
Oh yeah.
Like, why would you go back and spend all this time creating fragile code for a library I can just call?
And I guess it's there's two pieces there. Like, yeah, you don't want to recreate the wheel. Some of the issues have been that the coding agents have picked up old versions of libraries and will bring them in, so you're starting with tech debt.
Right.
But there's also, I think, a school of thought where I can go from completely scratch, completely bespoke. I can lean in on the AI tools and have them build exactly the thing I need, and I'm not bringing all the baggage along from those frameworks.
Right.
So I'm getting the exact experience I want. There'll probably be better performance because you're not having a whole overhead of all that framework behind the scenes, and now you're obviously in charge of maintaining it. But I think I mentioned this yesterday on another show, that if I was a SaaS player like Salesforce, SAP, ServiceNow, I think these folks should be a little worried about what's coming next, because you can now build exactly the thing you want. The reason people bought those tools is because they didn't want to spend the money to build a bespoke version of the tool that did exactly what they want. That's becoming a possibility.
Yeah, now the build versus buy conversation
it's changing.
becomes now if you have senior level engineers that really understand planning, design, and a bottleneck has always been just having someone to write the code to the previous spec, and we've perfected deploying.
I don't know. That's an interesting one. That deploy box.
Really?
I think that's where a lot of juniors get tripped up.
I agree that
that's the biggest.
I agree that that's where a lot of juniors get tripped up. But when you take a senior and you give a senior AI, now I can run infinite text, like all the tests that I don't have time for.
You could, because you've been a systems person, like all on the infrastructure side of things. And you same with me. I kind of came from that similar background, and then layered code and applications on top of it. There's I think a great majority of the developers out there they want to play in the code box. They want nothing to do with that deploy box.
Oh, that's where
that's where we like.
Yeah, it's not just where we like. It's where you solve problems before they become problems. outcomes. So, Calvin, we can talk about these 4 boxes all day.
Yeah.
We promise we'll get a longer session, but I really wanted to follow up the conversation. Think about how do we codify, how to use a code assistant, especially when you have juniors and seniors. You need to put them in the same room. I think what I would really love to see is more content around how do juniors and seniors engage with one another.
I like that, yeah.
One of my theories is that juniors can now work as business analysts and prototype much faster, and now take those prototypes to seniors to help develop. That's a theory.
I think higher education is going to have to adjust to this as well. I think that junior developer is going to become more of an apprentice or a craftsman or a journeyman on an artisan type journey, as opposed to go to school, get a CS degree, come out, get entry level jobs doing production level code. I don't think that path exists in this world.
I tend to agree. PwC has made a big deal out of their audit and tax track of no longer hiring juniors to just come in and do and collect data. AI can do that, and tools can do that. How do they manage AI systems?
Right.
And I think that is what higher education is need to be focused on: system design, system engineering, but not necessarily teaching you how to do the zeros and ones. All right, you want to learn more about 6 Feet Up?
Go to 6feetup.com. You can also find me on LinkedIn. I'm the only Calvin Hunter Sparker in the world.
You want to learn more about the CTO Advisor? You can find us on the web, thectoadvisor.com. And I'm everywhere as CTO Advisor. Talk to you next CTO Advisor Community Chat.